Hi everyone, it's the Kilted Brewer, and today it's going to be a short, easy video. I'm going to show you guys how to properly pitch your yeast. We're going to pitch into the lemon berry wine that I made in the last video. So the first thing that you want to do is we're going to have two ingredients that are going to go in this today. We have our GoFerm, and then we have Lalvin EC1118. That's the yeast that the recipe that we're using calls for. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our GoFerm, and I already measured this out earlier on a little scale. We have 5 grams of the Lalvin EC1118. So the GoFerm requires 1.25 parts for every 1 part of yeast. So I measured it out earlier on our little scale, and I'm going to go ahead. I have this ready, sitting right here. Make sure your water is at the correct temperature. Now, your GoFerm, 110 degrees is what you should be mixing it at. And we're going to need 50 milliliters of it. So go ahead and pour it in here. And the 50 mils actually comes, I went a little bit higher on that. The 50 mils actually comes off of the Lalvin packet. So follow the directions for the packet of yeast on the volume of liquid. Then add the GoFerm to it. And then we're going to give it a little stir. Now obviously this is all equipment that I sanitized earlier. So we're going to give this a little stir. Now the GoFerm says to wait until the temperature drops to 100 degrees, and this is Fahrenheit, to 100 degrees to add the yeast. What I prefer to do is go off the directions that are listed on the yeast packet. And for the Lalvin EC1118, it says anywhere between 104 and 109. So just sitting there this time and giving it that little stir is probably enough to have dropped it 1 degree. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my yeast in here. And then next we're going to wait 20 minutes and just let this sit and do its thing. While this is sitting, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what you're going to want to do with your lemon berry wine every day. So I have my bucket of sanitizer right here. I'm going to dip my hands in here because I'm about to get it all up in amongst this wine, and I don't want to transfer anything nasty that I don't want in there into my wine. So you're going to grab your fruit packet, you're going to lift it out, and then you're going to squeeze it. And you want to try and squeeze all the juices out there. Now what this is doing is it's just working all the juices out of the bag through your wine. And whenever you're doing a recipe where you're adding fruit, you can use this method to get a little bit more of the fruit character out. It is pretty messy, but it's definitely worth it. It really does make a big difference, to at least to this recipe anyway. So I'm going to do this, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes, and we'll go ahead and I'll show you what the next step of pitching the yeast is. Okay, so it's already been 20 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and get this yeast pitched, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be doing throughout the process of the primary fermentation, which is going to take about the next 7 days. So what we're going to do with the yeast right here, we're going to take this spoon that I cleaned earlier, and we're going to just spoon a little bit of this in, and we're going to keep doing that gradually over the next couple minutes. And basically what you're wanting to do is allow the temperature of the yeast to cool down to where the wort's at, so that you don't get any type of temperature shock. The yeast at this point, they're very fragile. That's why they need a specific temperature water. That's why it's a good idea to use a starter, because basically what it does is when you first pour that yeast in, that first 20 minutes, they really need to get acclimated and healthy. If you don't take the time to do this, you can pitch the yeast right in some recipes it will actually work. I have a mead recipe that I did last time that's what the recipe calls for. But typically what you want to do is something like this. You want to get the yeast as healthy and strong as you can before you pitch it in there, just to make sure that it has the best chance of survival, and also that it's the healthiest. The healthier that your yeast is, the better that your wine is going to taste, and also the less chance that you have of having problems with the fermentation slowing down and getting stuck. So with your primary fermenter, you just want to take a towel and you're going to put it over the top of it. And then the easiest way to hold it in place is if you get a big rubber band, you can stick it around there. I don't have any big ones right now, so I just tied a bunch together. But put your towel over there, use a rubber band, and it allows, when the yeast is doing its thing, it likes a little bit of oxygen, and also the CO2 needs to be able to escape. If the CO2 can't escape, then it's going to become toxic for your yeast, and also if they don't have enough oxygen, they're not going to be as healthy as they can be. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this must to the yeast right here. I'm going to give it a little swirl around, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pitch it into our must. So just go ahead and pour it right in there. And then what we're going to want to do next is we're going to stir the hell out of it, basically. So you take it, and the reason that you want to stir it is obviously to get the yeast mix through there, but also you want to splash it around as much as you can, because you want to get as much oxygen mixed through that as well. Again, the oxygen is going to help the yeast at the start of the process. Once you move to your secondary oxygen, air is a bad thing, but for right now, you want to get as much air mixed through there as possible. So once you're finished mixing, go ahead, drop the bag back in there, take your towel, drape it over the top, take your elastic band, and tighten it down on there. So now what we're going to want to do for about the next 3 days, 3 to 4 days, you're going to take out your fruit packet, you're going to squeeze it again, you're going to give it a little mix. I'll do that for the first 3 days, then after that I would stop mixing it. I'd leave the fruit packet in there maybe another day or two, still go in and squeeze the fruit packet every day, and then take the fruit packet out. And then the next step that I'll be doing in the videos will actually transfer this over into a carboy. Thanks for watching today. Again, if you ever have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section of the video and subscribe to the channel.